Hey everybody, welcome back to Pardon Will Live. I'm your host, David Lilly, and it is Sunday, 8:30. Well, a little late. I'm a little late, but a few minutes. Who cares? Either way, I'm your host, Pardon Will, aka David Lilly, aka Pardon Will. Same person, the same person. Hope you guys had a fantastic week. I definitely had a fantastic week. Got a quick show for you tonight. We got a few things we're going to run through. We're going to talk about Elon doing the Doge thing. I might talk about Cash Patel being let in. Got a few clips that we're going to watch and just talk about, just hang out. Guys, low expectations. That's what you get. That's what you get. Low expectations. But you know what? If you like this podcast, and I know you absolutely do, go ahead and like and subscribe because you're a jabroni, and that's what jabronis do. You can also go, I'm not even going to pull it up for you this time. You can go to pardonwill.com. That's my website. And no, it's not what you're thinking. It's not a website to get me pardoned out of this prison that looks like I'm in. No, but I tell you what, if someone famous named Will does get arrested and they're like, oh, I got to get a website because I got to get this presidential pardon out for maybe old Trumpers gets out, maybe he'll pardon me. They're going to offer up. They're going to offer up a heavy amount just to get my website. So I'm in it for the long run, guys. I don't know if you know this. I was like, well, let's pick a website, pardonwill.com. Some famous Will's going to want a pardon. They're going to have tons of cash. They're going to just drop stacks on my desk. I'm just going to toss that website right over to them. I'm just joking. Either way, go to pardonwill.com. Buy something. Buy some art. We're going to talk about that towards the end. But let's go and get this party started because I got a few things I want to go through. I'm going to try not to waste your time tonight. I'm going to actually try to rush through these a little bit. But one of my favorite people in the world, he's an actor. He's been in a lot of fun things that I enjoy, like my Star Wars. He came out and he was at some kind of an Oscar award for Britain or England or something. I don't know. Whatever. Apparently, England makes movies too, and they have their own award system. It's not enough that Hollywood pretty much runs everything. England's like, well, we have our own British thing where we hand out awards for people with, I don't know, whatever movies they make, whatever that is. To be honest, all British actors just come over to America because America's better. But either way, he was there talking, and something happened. He had a what's that a Jackson moment where he had a malfunction. We're going to take a look at this. I don't know if you saw this clip. Either way, we're going to watch it again, and we're going to talk about what we think happened. So check this clip out.
So what makes us love cinema so much that we're all gathered here to celebrate tonight? For me, it's that films create worlds so vivid and stories so powerful that we lose ourselves in them completely. They create immersive cinematic landscapes that feel alive, whether they're set here in London or anywhere.
All right, so we're going to replay that in a minute, but I just want to give you my 2 cents. So obviously his pants fell off in the middle of him talking. Now, the last time I played a Mark Hamill clip, he was doing some kind of White House thing, a press state of the presser, a presser or whatever, and he was completely hammered. We talked about it at nauseum. We talked about how hammered he was, and I thought that was fun. I thought that was a good time. But this being the second time he's popped up, and he's not hammered that I can tell. At least he's been drinking, but not that much. But he definitely lost his pants. His pants fell down midway, which makes me wonder, like, was it suspended and then they unclipped? Or did he go to the bathroom right before this and he forgot to button up or zip? How do you, guys, if you're going, number one, like, how often do your pants fall? Let's just talk about this. How often do your, and the chat's open, so you can come in. We're gonna actually, before we get started, we got an awesome chat. I should have opened up. Expectation management is key to life. That's right. Lou Cirrus, I don't even know if you're saying your name, coming in from YouTube. Hop. Great advice. Expectation management is, and that's why I always tell everybody, keep those expectations low. Win every time. Wins all around. Maybe Lou can answer this one for me. How often do your pants just fall down randomly? Like, is it, like just you're at work or you're at a restaurant or you're doing something? Not very likely. How often do they fall down when you're on television at a podium on stage? Even less likely. I know not all of us are on podiums or stage, but more like presentations. Maybe you're meeting a client. Maybe you have a job interview. How often do your pants fall off? How does this happen? How does this happen? I'd like to think God was involved and it was pretty funny. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and say this was a miracle specifically from God to me in the Pardon Will Live. He was like, I'm going to give you something, Dave, because I know you got tons of clips. I'm going to give you something fun to play. And it's Mark Hamill's pants falling off. Guys, I had a great time watching this. We're going to watch it again. Now, you tell me what you think happened, because it's not like they fell off walking up. He wasn't even moving. There was no movement involved that would have
So
shook
what
him
makes
loose.
us love cinema so
Nothing.
much that we're all gathered here to celebrate tonight? For me, it's that films create worlds so vivid and stories so powerful that we lose ourselves in them completely. They create immersive cinematic landscapes that feel alive, whether they're set here in London or anywhere.
All right. Well, we got Luke come back. He says he's white. They never fall down, meaning his pants don't fall down. Was Luke Skywalker sagging his pants? Maybe it's like a cultural thing. He's like, all the kids are doing it, or they were doing it back in the 90s. Maybe I'll do it to kind of fit in, because he's kind of trying to fit in with the kiddos. I was going to make some kind of a pedo joke. I don't think I got there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was sagging. Either way, you should always. Here's the other thing. Let's talk about this. Now, I get tuxedo suspenders. Always wear suspenders. But there's a new thing where you wear suspenders and a belt. And now that seems like something I would do. Always have a belt on. This new fad, or this old fad that's come back, where you wear pants without belts, it's dumb. I'm just going to go and say it's dumb. And so I don't even know how this even. Guys, I don't even know how this happens. I doubt you even know what happens. Legacy Zach's coming in. He says, how did the greatest Joker become so gay? I don't know. But to be honest, did you watch the latest Joker movie? It's kind of gay. It was a musical. How do you avoid that? That's all we talk about this all the time. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, Joker, by the way, he voiced Joker. And it's weird and kind of ironic that he's become such a Joker. Like, that was kind of a clown move where his pants fall down. You think it would. Here's the other thing. Had this been me, and my pants fell down in front of everybody, say I'm doing a Pardon Will Live and my pants just fell down and you could see it. How do you not just run with it? How do you just ignore and keep going and keep reading the teleprompter? Why don't you stop and go, I must be really excited, guys? You don't play into it. That's what I would have done. But I don't think Luke Skywalker's quick on his feet. Or at least he's too quick on his feet to where his pants fall down. Either way. Guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. We got a few more clips. I'm just busting through some of my favorite ones just because it's Sunday night. You guys know I like to have a good time. We're going to talk about Elon taking the chainsaw to Doge, and we're going to get to it. But I figured I'd just play with the fun clips at first. And here's the thing. To line this up and just ball it out, I've been paying attention to a lot of Democrats lately, a lot of higher up elite Democrats, your Chuck Schumers, your Nancy Pelosi's, all the ones that are really trying hard to throw wrenches in whatever Trump's doing. And it's not working. It's not working at all. And they have a new message. They got a memo went out, and they're going to run with it. And we're going to talk about that. But I wanted to point out right off the bat why it's kind of sad. It's endearing that they're still trying, but it's kind of sad because you can't play ball the same way you used to. Now, quick story. Last year around this time, I don't know if you know this, but we had a few Republican candidates running, and on the internet sphere, on the Twitters, the big ones were old DeSantis and Trump, and a lot of arguments about which one was going to take the RNC. And there was a ton of, I even talked about it. The DeSantis voters out there were like, DeSantis, Trump is a criminal. He's felon. They were repeating all the same stuff that all the Democrats are saying because they really wanted old DeSantis in there. And I tried to explain to them. And I would have conversations on Spaces and be like, guys, you're not paying attention. He's not going to make it. He's not going to win. They're like, no, he's got a great chance. Everyone hates Trump. And a lot of these people were hardcore politicos. And what I mean is they've been paying attention to elections for years. They've been listening to their Rush Limbaughs and their, Bill O'Reillys and stuff like that. They've been in the politic game for a while, mostly boomers. They've been watching this thing and they're like, this is how politics works every time. And the thing that they didn't pick up on is they couldn't see that we weren't playing the politic game anymore. The game had shifted. The table got thrown off. Trump came in. Whatever Trump did to the mainstream media just turned the tables. We're not playing Monopoly anymore. We're playing, I don't know, categories. But none of these politicos could figure that out. They're like, no, this is the popular vote, and here's this, and the electoral college, and blah, blah, blah. And I kept trying to tell them, I was like, you're not paying attention to the culture. The thing about DeSantis that no one likes is he doesn't have a pair of balls. He's a great governor. I love DeSantis. He just didn't have the wit. He didn't have the grit and the grime. The fact that he couldn't, I don't even think he ever addressed the shoe thing. I don't know if you guys remember the shoes, platform shoe thing. He just didn't have it. And that's what they just couldn't pick up on it. And I kept harping. I was like, you're not understanding where the culture is. This is a different politics game. And I'm going to show you what I meant. Fast forward. This is what I mean. And this is why I think the Democrats are going to have a big time problem. Legacy Sack comes in and says, I'll share this real quick. Oh, let me do this again. You Democratic enabler. I am definitely a Democratic enabler. I just let them go. I would love for them to talk more, which we're going to see. Anyway, this is why you can't throw a wrench into the old Trumpsters. His whole administration, his whole thing. And everyone saw this clip. I'm going to play it again because I feel like I should get a turn to show this on my show. So check
the NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with the state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
I just don't see how DeSantis would have came in with that kind of a hot take. And it's not even a hot take. That's not the wrong verbiage. Just all out bare knuckle brawl. And he's right. He's right. And she immediately after that, it's like, oh, we'll take you to court over. And he's like, oh, we'll take it to court. Well, and we'll win that one. It'll be easy. This is why I love it because we're not playing politics anymore. We're just not playing this particular politic game. And my favorite part is the Democrats have nothing but geriatric boomers, and they all think that these are the winning. This is why they thought Kamala was going to win. They're like, we've got all the mainstream media, we got the playbook, we got the pop stars and the hip hop stars twerking on stage, we've got the youth vote. Trump insurrection felon 36 counts, and they just couldn't figure out why they lost. And no matter how many times everybody was trying to tell them, you guys don't get it. We're not playing this game anymore. We're playing a totally different game. You guys are moving pieces around the board and we're stacking battleships. I think I just put Battleship and Connect 4 and smashed them together into a new game. Got games on the brains, guys. I'll tell you about that in a minute. We're not playing the same game anymore. Actually, you know what? That's actually great. I couldn't have teed that one up better. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Guys, I don't know if I've been pretty busy lately, just like you. It's tax season, so you guys are probably filing taxes. Your boy over here is too busy creating his own game. I've made a game. So I'm going to make this as quick as possible because I do it all the time. You can go to flintlockandfog.com. Guys, if you're fans of D&D or you know somebody who's a fan of D&D or your Pathfinders and stuff like that, but you're like, oh, David, D&D's dead. Well, your boy over here is Frankensteining it up and putting some electrical charge into your old tabletop RPG games and created my own Victorian era tabletop role-playing game. Two cool things about this that isn't D&D. Number one, I made it. That's cool. Actually, we're going to do three things. The second thing, it's in Victorian era London. And all of the gameplay is falling around historical figures, so it's not just Dungeons and Dragons, and you got fantasy figures in that time period, like your Frankensteins, your Dr. Jekylls, or your Mr. Hydes, and werewolves and vampires, all the fun, great stuff about D&D, but brought into a modern era. My favorite part about bringing things into a modern era is because you're not stuck to shooting bows and swinging swords. You got guns. And who doesn't want to play D&D but with guns? So that's basically what I did. I made D&D but with guns. And the third cool thing about this is the guy who made it. So if you go to Flintlock and Fog right now and say you love D&D and you want to know more about this, and you want to be on the ground floor level, or even you have a friend who loves to play D&D, maybe in the video game, maybe they're old school, Gen Xer that used to play D&D the way Stranger Kids did back in the day. You can go Flintlock and Fog and sign them up. You can go down here to the newsletter. And you'll be, everything I come out with coming up for the next month, it's just going to be throwing things out there, free stuff, giving out tons of free stuff, free materials. Because guys, really what I want out of all of this is I wanted to create a game that I would enjoy, that I thought other people would enjoy. And I wanted to give an opportunity for other people to try to play a game, get back to being around a table, communicate with people. Video games are cool and all with your Fortnites and your Call of Duties, but there's something awesome about sitting around a table or sitting around a virtual table on Skype and communicating with people and letting them make their own decisions. Because the thing about role-playing video games is, yeah, sure, you get to, you can Skyrim it up and go to whatever town you want at that time, but you are kind of stuck to what they'll let you do. They give you about like, hey, you want to respond to this dialogue, and you get 4 choices. You got to pick one. Not in this, not in these old school RPG games. You get to make up whatever you want, say whatever you want. It's a great time. Guys, if you don't believe me, you can tune in, like, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and all this stuff. I'm live streaming, beta testing it on Thursdays. So there's my quick little thing. Speaking of games. All right, guys, I couldn't do this. I am blowing through. I shouldn't have spent that much time on it, but, Alex Jones can, I can too. So we'll spend some time on advertisements and what we're sponsored with. I thought I'd bring back an old fun one to go into the chainsaw thing. Here is old Morning Joe. Now, he thinks he's got the right message, and we're going to watch this clip, and I'm going to stop it, and we're going to chit-chat about it. But listen to what Morning Joe, maybe he's on to something about this Elon coming in and cutting the government and wrecking havoc on all our federal employees, giving them firing notices and stuff like that, and ultimatums. So check this clip out.
This is actually a chainsaw approach. And Democrats just have to be over the moon right now. They've got their image of Elon Musk. He's got the chainsaw held up in the air, and it's a split screen there. And on the other side, you have medical research being slashed, workers being cut from the NIH. You've got FAA workers being cut. You've got TSA workers being cut. You've got the IRS agents that deal with working class and middle class Americans who call to get, their refunds in a timely manner.
All right, first things first. Pulling up the thing with Elon with the chainsaw. I may have jumped into this clip too quick without giving you a backup story, but some of y'all already know. I think that was at CPAC. Either way, chainsaw. That's a imagery of Elon coming in and dissecting the federal government, getting waste, and what Morning Joe here is saying is people are starting to look at this like, oh, we're cutting too much. He's sloppy. He's going all over the place. But what he didn't actually pay attention to is most voters, maybe, or at least the ones who were paying attention, wasn't so much about the Elon and the chainsaw. That could have been its own imagery. But really what it was about was Elon, the chainsaw, and old Javier Milei. Now, the thing about those three that, Morning Joe was quick to not even bring up is because Javier Milei was a libertarian right-winger that got elected into Argentina. And the first thing he did was, his campaign was, I'm going to cut the government, all of the government, all the spending, all these stupid programs, all these things that we're wasting money on, cutting it all. And we'll see what happens. And, libertarians are like, this is great. This is going to be awesome. I'm all stoked for this. He went in, and I think now, like, it's been like, I don't know, probably like a year, maybe even less. Their government's running awesomely. Like, they're not even in debt anymore. I think it was like the first time they've never been in debt in forever. Either way, guys, I haven't paid attention that much, but I know it was great, and Argentina's been doing wonderfully. And the imagery was because Javier Milei went in with a chainsaw, was afuera, just getting rid of, that means to get rid of, or whatever. I don't speak that kind of Spanish. I only know the Spanish cuss words in construction terms. Either way, it worked great for Argentina. So the imagery was Elon picking up the mantle of the chainsaw and getting rid of all these government programs. And so I guess Morning Joe's audience is like, oh, he's got a chainsaw. This brings terrible imagery. Hence the name I talked about, DC Chainsaw Massacre, is what the Democrats are trying to pull in. They're like, well, this is great. And he even said at the beginning, he's like, Democrats should be over the moon. Elon just handed their messaging for the next week, maybe month. It's because the Democrats don't really have much going on. They're really trying to pry all Republican voters that may be a little bit nervous about all these cuts, pry them away. The problem, he's so bad at it that when he was listing off the things that Elon was cutting, he mentioned a few, and I get it. I get that he's disconnected from your average American. So when Morning Joe brings in, he's like, he's cutting the TSA. Guys, do you think Morning Joe sits at the TSA while they feel him up, takes his shoes off? You think he has to deal with any of that? No, he gets a free pass. What he doesn't like is the fact that you pleb, you servant, you redneck hillbilly. I don't want you getting on the plane with me without your shoes being checked. Who knows what you could have? You could have one of those big guns with the bump thingies. Who knows what you're going to do? So yeah, he's like, God, let's not get rid of, hold on there, Republicans. Let's not get rid of the TSA, because Americans absolutely love being felt up at the airport. That's what Morning Joe thinks. And then to top that off, he's like, why don't we mention IRS agents? And then you can tell in that clip that we just watched, he was like, and they're cutting the IRS agents, where people are calling. And he's like, God, how do I spin this in midtime? I was like, you didn't even think about it. Calling to hurry up and get their refunds quick. That works, right? And to him, he's like, yeah, that worked, because all of his audience are dumb. They're all dumb. It works great for him. And so I thought this clip was great. We're going to continue on watching it, because it's been a hot minute since we had Morning Joe on, since they stopped posting clips of Morning Joe on the old Twitter sphere. So let's take a look at what else he's got to say.
All of this is going on, and Democrats finally, it looks like Democrats are finally being given some issues that they can really start to work on.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to pause it real quick. I like how he said Democrats issues that they can work on. Really what he means, issues that they can weaponize, which sounds great for Democrats, I guess. But it also stinks, because they're really thinking, here's the thing. In the grand scheme of things, what did they use to weaponize to get after Trump, to pry people away from voting for him in the first place? Because what they want is they want dissent. They don't want people liking what's happening. And so they were like, let's try to put him in jail. And that backfired. And they're like, well, let's try to tell everybody that Joe is cogent, he's coherent, and he's tip-top shape. Joe's never been better. And that backfired. Enough to where they had to pull somebody else. And then they were like, Kamala's joy. She's joy. And Trump's rhetoric is dangerous. And then Trump got shot at. And they're like, how do we spin this? He got shot because Trump's rhetoric is dangerous. So they're constantly trying to take something that doesn't work and just pull at any strings they can. Like, it's just a sweater. And we're trying to find any loose knitted strings. And guys, I love it. And it's making them work hard. And that's exactly what they should be doing. They should be working hard. If they're going to be opposition, and if they're going to be all for the Democrats, this is great. Look at them just cherry picking the best they can. I love it. Good. And that's the thing that Elon wants. And that's what they don't get. Elon doesn't need to fire everybody. He just wants you to work hard. The problem is nobody over in DC is working hard. So it's a chainsaw massacre. Everybody's getting kicked out. Everybody's getting fired. And here's the thing. This is why I have a hard time believing old Morning Joe. Number one, because he's a liar. That one's a given. But when he says Republicans are nervous, he definitely didn't say Republicans are mad at what Doge is doing. He said Republicans are nervous because we might, and we're going to get this other goofball with the glasses is going to talk about it. But in DC alone, when they're firing, every time you see one of those clips on the internet where they're like, I was a Republican, I voted for Trump, and Trump fired me. Wrong. DC was nothing but Democrats. If they're firing anybody in DC, the chances of them being a Republican and voted for Trump are so minuscule, tiny, that I have a hard time believing it anyway. So let's listen to this other chump with the glasses. Guys, I gotta get some glasses. Let's listen to this old D-bag, see what he's got to say, because I'm sure it's super insightful.
Look, there is a legitimate and important debate to have about the size of government and whether an agency is performing well, whether it has the right number of people, too many, too few. All that's true. That's not what's happening here. We're not having a thoughtful debate about the size of government and where things make sense and where they don't. We're just seeing, as he shows with that image at CPAC, taking a chainsaw to it. And I think that they love.
Yeah, so that's the problem. That's the problem right here. So I'm going to do a little, this is why it's so frustrating when you hear this. Like, we want him to, he should be doing this. The thing that we always do is we sit down and we have a conversation and we talk in Congress and we vote on what we should keep and what might be waste and what takes too long. And you guys had all the time. You guys have decades of doing what you're talking about you should be doing now. American people are done. We're done. Done with the, hey, should we cut this thing? Should we minimize? Maybe the TSA is a little bit too big. Let's all come in. Let's sit for a vote. We'll do a committee. We'll do 16 committee. This is the thing. Bureaucracy. They love it, guys. Pencil pushers love pushing pencils. Like, they love it. It's the thing that they love. You ever seen an accountant? Here's a great example. Think of Parks and Rec. And no, not Ron Swanson, which I know is the first thing you went to because he's your hero. He's at least mine. Think of Ben Wyatt. You remember when Ben Wyatt, he's an accountant, and he would get super stoked about numbers? So it was like, oh my God, look at the deficit and the expenses I'm going to go through. That's what these people do. They love it. They're like, how long could we should sit down with like 16 committees and pass it from one to the other, and then maybe get back, and then maybe at the end of the day, 10 people will get fired, because there's no way the government never gets smaller. It's always getting bigger. You're going to tell me all of a sudden Trump should slow it down? Slow it down. Elon's going rampant. He should definitely let us vote on this for the next 17,000 years. Done. We're done. And I can't see why anybody, unless they're in the bureaucracy in the federal government, I still can't see why anybody wouldn't be stoked for this. And I get it, like, well, this could be dangerous. This could cause all kinds of problems. We see the big Democrat slogan was the FFA. They're like, look at all these plane crashes now that Trump got rid of them. Except for the head of Delta came out and was like, yeah, they fired 300 people after 50,000 in the FFA. And he goes, and none of them were in critical roles. He said that on CNN. And the lady who was interviewing was like, oh my God, we did not prep for this. He's telling the truth. They're not used to hearing the truth because it's all about the spin narrative. And if you look at well, how many crashes were there in the first month of Biden's administration? Way more now. But the problem is you're only hear about them now. It's because the news is like, hey, we gotta pounce on everything that goes wrong. And it's great because, to be honest, not a lot of stuff is going wrong. And I'm super stoked for it. And I don't know. You could say, David, your eggs are getting more expensive. All right. I would be upset about the egg thing if none of this was happening. If Trump got in and was like, we're going to tariff and we're going to go to wars, then I'd be like, yeah, this sucks. And the eggs are just the cherry on top, or the egg on top. However you work that cake out. But because of all this, I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's fantastic. Anyway, let's hear this guy's going to continue. Let's hear what they got to say, because the Democrats really think they got something.
I love that image because it like makes them look manly and powerful, and they're taking on the deep state, and that's appealing on some level to a lot of MAGA Republicans. On the other hand, there are a lot of people who voted for Trump who do think the government needs to be reined in, but don't like, as that constituent said, a sloppy, haphazard approach where they're firing the nuclear safety people one day and oops, they have to rehire them the next, or the bird flu people one day are fired. Oops, we need to rehire them again. That's not a thoughtful and smart way of going things in the view of a lot of Republicans who think that there ought to be a methodical and important debate here. Now,
all those Republicans he's talking about, DeSantis people. That's DeSantis people for you. I have this quick theory, and people always talk about it. We're gonna dip into it. Why? And guys, I like to pick on boomers. I apologize if you're a boomer watching. If you are, hop in the chat and say, shame on you. Stop picking on boomers. You're so entitled. How could you be picking on the boomers? Pot calling the kettle black. Here's the thing about boomers. And a few of the other hardcore establishment, what we like to call rhinos now, like your Ben Shapiro's, your people have been doing it for a while. Now I like my Ben Shapiro if I want a boomer take. He's the youngest boomer I can think of. The reason why boomers are this, these are DeSantis voters. We should go with slow. This is too, which is strange. I'm hitting so many thoughts. I'm Alex Jones in it over here, which is strange because we used to always rag on the Republicans because all they would do is slow down, Democrats, you're going too quick. But now the coin is flipped and all the Democrats are like, slow down, Republicans, you're going too fast. Love it. Either way, this is the thing. This is my theory about the old boomer generation. One of the reasons why they're real nervous about this chainsaw thing, and I guarantee what he's talking about, the guy he's talking about who came to the city council meeting was a boomer, and that's how you know, is because their entire world that they know of that has not been bad at all is being dissected with a chainsaw. Now, hear me out. Most boomers, this is why I think millennials and Gen Zers and all them and Gen Xers to an extent, I can be honest, and I can tell you, I've never thought that the the United States, the opportunities in the United States were ever going to get better. I always assumed growing up that things were always going to get worse. They're always going to get more expensive. It's going to be hard to find housing. I just assumed because I watched how the government went. The boomers grew up in a world where they were like, I bought my house for 30 grand. I just sold it for $250,000. And so, and I'm getting Social Security that I just toss over into my Mercedes payment. Like they lived in politics, ran the way I used to. This is why they wanted DeSantis. This is why they want establishment people like your Lindsey Grahams and your Liz Cheney's. Like, oh, she's coming down from the guy on top. The Dick Cheney was so good. They love it because the world they lived in was great. It was roses. And everybody else was like, this sucks. And boomers like, what do you mean this sucks? This is great. You're just entitled. And that's why I think Republicans are having a hard time with Doge. Chances are they're boomers or they're like boomers. And they're like, we should definitely take this to a committee. Slow down there a little bit. This is a bit sloppy. And the reason is because this is not what they like where the world has been, except for a few tweaks. They would like a few tweaks, which is what he's saying. But they like the situation that we're in now. Everybody behind him is like, we've been going down a terrible path for a long time. I would like to see some big change. So every time someone says, well, you know, all the Democrats are like, yeah, these Republicans aren't on board with this Doge thing. Nope. The boomers aren't on board with this Doge thing. And people that think like a boomer. Everybody else, loving it. Even your libertarians and your left wingers. There are some Democrats out there that's like, this is cool. I'm okay with this. I know you don't see a lot of them because most of the Democrats who would have been cool with it are on the MAGA side now. I know it's getting confusing. Just remember that RFK Jr. was not a Republican a year ago. Elon, I don't think it was a Republican a year. Joe Rogan's was a Bernie supporter like 6 months ago. I know it's confusing. Don't get confused. There are Democrats that are loving the Doge thing. There's just not a lot of them because the ones that were Democrats are not Democrats anymore. Anyway, let's continue this thing out. Let's see if he's got anything else. I might.
A lot of Republicans say, look, you know, we've tried having that over the years, didn't work, so let's give this a shot, see what happens. But the political costs could eventually backlash on Trump and Elon Musk.
You know, I a couple of days ago, John.
Oh my God, they're all wearing glasses. Do you guys see that freeze that on the right spot? I've got to get me some glasses. It just makes everybody look so smart, except for that one guy up the top.
And I talked about going back to Washington for the 30th anniversary of our class of 1994. And there are a lot of us very proud of the fact that we went up there when everybody said there's no way we could balance the budget. We went up there, and with the help of a lot of people, we balanced a budget for the first time in a generation. We balanced it 4 years in a row for the only time over the past 100 years. And I was struck by what Newt Gingrich said.
Guys, friggin' snooze fest. I can't. Anyway, I'm going to sum it up for him because I've already watched this clip. He's like, yeah, it took like 230 people to balance the budget. And what Newt Gingrich said was it was hard work. It was a lot of hard work, but everybody came together and we worked it out in the order of 6 months. You mean you guys took taxpayer dollars to sit down at a table, sip coffee, and try to figure out how you could not spend money? And it took 230 people. This is why Americans hate this. But pencil pushers love pushing pencils. And they think you love that they love pushing pencils too. Why are these Americans so excited about Doge? We don't want to push pencils. We want chainsaw, slash it, cut it out, cut it to the bone, and just cut it and get rid of it. Because we're tired of 230 people sitting down to bicker and argue about which dog catching program should stick around, which ones shouldn't. So you can slightly shave off things just to make sure you get certain votes in your constituency. Because we all know you're lying anyway. You're just doing certain things to make sure you can get as many votes as you want. You don't want to cut the government. You just want to get reelected again. So get out of here. Chainsaw it all. Slash it. Ron Swanson it. Slashing it. I'm sick and tired of the old. I want something new. I want something awesome. Speaking of new and awesome, guys, we got a sponsor for tonight. It's my boy, WhoTouchedIt.com. If you go to WhoTouchedIt.com, you get some sweet t-shirts. They got this Do Not Comply, Abolish the IRS. Tons of great t-shirts, guys. I scroll through this thing all the time. I almost brought it up, but I thought this ad was cooler. And I was like, what better way to promote WhoTouchedIt.com than to wear a shirt that you can get at whotouchedit.com. I don't know if you can see this. This is my Ruby Ridge shirt, ordered right off the website. Guys, it's a great guy who runs his company. Phenomenal brands, great designs, and all around just love supporting friends, love supporting people who do doing the Lord's work with some sweet t-shirts like the one I'm wearing. Go to whotouchedit.com. Get you a shirt. Get you a shirt and be one of the cool kids. Do you want to see a group of real cool kids though? Check out this clip. These are people that are mad at the chainsaw. This is those Republicans, I think, old Joey Scarborough was talking about. You right? This is a protest, I think in DC. I didn't really do my homework. Hold on, we're not going to go that far. We're going to jump in. Zach's got a comment. I want to see it says the word boomer. Are boomers the fairies that Hitler wanted to expel? Well, let's just put that one right back in the pocket. Never mind, that was a bad one to click on. Anyway, thanks, Zach. Anyway, check out this group of people that are not wearing cool t-shirts that they got from whotouchedit.com, that they're mad that Elon is cutting stuff. All right, just as a blanket observation, these people are fired up. You can hear it in their awesome, unique, original chant. I guess they're just keeping it back to the basics. And that sign says, "We make our future." Now, do you think Elon is affecting these people's future? Maybe. Do you think these are all the people who've been fired? Most likely. But how do you know? How do you know we should definitely trust them? Because this one sign says, "Trust black women." Right to the point. I love it. Let's keep going. Maybe we can pick out some other cool people. See if anybody's wearing a cool shirt from whotouchedit.com. Well, guys, I don't know. We got a ton of pink hats. I wonder what that's about. All the same people. All the same people. But at least they got a cool chant. Here's the problem. I'm going to give the lefties a hand real quick. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Your protest marches aren't fun anymore. They're not fun. They're minimal. They're scattered. Your signs, I mean, I don't know if you saw any other signs, are kind of hard to read. That's number one. Your signs are hard to read. They don't make much sense. They're kind of random. We want our future. Trust black women. I think we resist. We march. What are you resisting? What are you resisting? Are you fired? Could you imagine? I mean, maybe people do this. Strikes, union strikes, but you guys know how I feel about unions. Not a fan. How many people get fired from their job and they're like, you know what I'm going to do? And you're like, what? You're going to go look for a new job? Nope. I'm going to go protest. Because that's going to get your job back. Either way, these people are in DC. The only thing they know how to do is protest. And now since they're all unemployed, you know, what else are they going to do? Definitely not look for a new job. Here's my favorite coming hot in the Democrat part. I'm trying to help them out here because we talked about this before. The Democrats do need to step their game up if we're going to have a country, maybe. Again, I think they're slowly declining even further. David Hogg is running the Democrat ship over there now, so we know how that's going to go. Either way, and so here's a Democrat. I want to share this tweet with you guys and see what your thoughts are. Check this out. This was a tweet put out in reference to Elon cutting all these federal workers' jobs. I'm going to read this to you for those just listening. If Elon truly wants to understand what federal workers accomplished over the past week, there's probably pre-reference. He sent out another letter, another ultimatum. It's like, hey, and I loved it. It's like, what did you get done this week? List 5 things and then, tag your supervisor, which is great. This is phenomenal. I loved it. It was that simple, straight to the point, and done. Anyway, she's referencing that email. Workers accomplished over this past week. He should get to know each department and agency and learn about the jobs he's trying to cut. Again, we just talked about this. Do you want to spend the next 40 years going through each individual department? You can. But you know what that would take? That would take hiring more people to do the thing. So again, she's just saying we should hire more people to do more jobs to see who can cut the jobs of the people we just hired. They just love pushing pencils, guys. Pushing pencils. Just makes them all excited. Get them stoked. Push more pencils. Anyway, she continues. This Lisa Murkowski. Our public servants work hard to ensure that our national security is protected. The planes that land safely and the forest fires do not spread. How are they doing on that not spreading the forest fires thing? That our social security checks arrive on time. Okay. That research for breakthroughs needed to cure diseases like cancer and ALS continues. No mention of COVID in that one. I thought that was pretty clever. Our public workforce deserves to be treated with dignity and respect this is my favorite part of this tweet, for the unheralded jobs they perform. I should have put up the email because she finished it out. The absurd weekend email is to justify their existence wasn't the absurd weekend email to justify their existence, wasn't it? And references the dignity and respect. You got an email. What did you want? A bouquet of flowers? What did some cookies? Literally, this is the joke. This is the meme. What do you want, a cookie? You want a cookie for doing your unheralded job? Guys, I don't know if you know this, but if you work in the private sector in any other job, you don't just get cookies randomly. You want to know why you're not just constantly getting pats on the back like you're at the nominees? It's because USAID isn't funding your business, because you're actually just trying to produce something and be able to compete in the market. If anybody is unheralded without dignity and respect, it's the entire private sector. And you know what? They don't complain about it. Why doesn't anybody in the private sector complain about not getting the dignity and respect? You know, that Herald is doing a great job, because we're doing a job because we know how to do a job. We want to do a good job because we want to be able to succeed and grow our families. You know what we don't need? Awards. Do you know who needs awards to make them feel good at their jobs? Theater kids, actors, politicians. They're all theater kids. They expect rewards. And when you send out an email instead of a Grammy, they get mad. That's undignified. You got an email. It's just an email. He didn't post your name on Twitter and be like, what did you do? Answer in front of everybody. Send an email out. Discreet. Just to the point. And these people are not used to being spoken to the point, because nothing they do is to the point, because they just push pencils. Everything's bureaucratic. And old Senator Lisa Murkowski, isn't that the same person? Wasn't that the name they used in Saved by the Bell? Lisa Murkowski? That sounds super familiar. Is she on Saved by the Bell? Theater kid. Probably theater kid. Either way, I thought this tweet was fantastic. And I think Elon actually followed and pulled this up. He followed up with this with a comment underneath that said, what did you get done this week? Which is a baller move. Guys, I'm loving this administration. I'm loving it. I'm loving the Democrats really trying to pull that bleeding heart thing out. Show our civil servants a modicum of respect. The email was respect. Everybody in the private sector understands that. People in government don't. That's why we need to hack and slash. Get rid of them all. Get rid of them all. Guys, I told you this week was going to be... Oh, wait, no. One more news thing before we move on to the next segment. I should probably slow it down a little bit. I'm getting all riled up because I love it. Now, every time I hear it, this spring, I got a lot of trees that fell over. I got to cut up. In this harsh winter, I'm going to be running that chainsaw. And when I'm running that chainsaw and I'm cutting those trees up, you know what I'm going to be thinking about? Just cutting the federal government. And it's gonna power me on all the way into the summer. Loving it. Love the sound of chainsaws. Let's go. Anyway, speaking of somebody else who got cut this week, and I don't mean cut physically, I mean cut from their job. Old Joyanne Reid had a show on MSNBC, and that thing got chainsawed right out of here. And I thought, how do I not talk about this? How do I not bring this up? Because I think the news broke today. I think we should celebrate every win. And for me at Pardon Will Live, and for you jabronis out there, the thing that we love the most is when media pundits who lie all the time get fired, because that's the best. That's the best. Welcome to the private sector. I hope Joyanne Reid starts her own podcast, because that would be awesome to watch that. The same way we're watching Chrissy Cuomo downfall his career into the gutter. And you can come back at me and be like, David, you've been podcasting for a hot minute. Where's all your subscribers? They're there. It's a silent majority. You just don't know about them. Keep them in my pocket. The silent majority. Your boy is famous. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. You just don't know. I'm quiet about it. Not bombastic like old Joyanne Reid. Anyway, plus I got to where I am with Pardon Will Live, not because someone picked me out of nowhere, but because of my merit and hard work. I thought it would be fun if we pulled up a clip of old Joyanne Reid let's share this tab instead, just to reminisce on what we're missing out. Since we're celebrating her canceling of her show, so I was like, I'm going to go through, see if I can find the best of. Couldn't find the best of. Let's see. We're going to do this, and we're going to full screen it. Check this out. This is one of my favorite clips from Joyanne Reid. We're going to watch it.
Let me just be clear. I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action. I went to a school no one had ever heard of in Denver, Colorado, in a small suburb. I didn't go to Exeter or Andover. I didn't have college test prep. I just happened to be really nerdy and smart and have really good grades and good.
I mean, I think it's a bold move coming out that she only got into Harvard because affirmative action is a bold move. But she's going to go into something that we've all talked about before. I don't know if I've actually talked about it before, but we're going to chit chat real quick about it. I should not have paused it. How can you fire a face like that? How could you fire a face like that? It was crazy. Eyes are burning a hole in my laptop. Let's continue on.
SAT scores, but someone came to Denver, Colorado to look for me. A Harvard recruiter flew to Denver, and I met up with her at the Village Inn restaurant and did a pre-interview to pull me into Harvard. I was pulled in, and the schools like Harvard and Yale that I got into affirmatively.
Is she saying she didn't even apply? That's kind of what I'm getting out of this. That she didn't even apply for Harvard. Does that mean someone at Harvard was like, DEI, diversity, we just need to find people who score the correct grades? Is that what Harvard's doing? Because if that's what Harvard's doing, that's friggin' wild. That's friggin' wild. But I kind of like it. That feels a little bit more like Professor X's Xavier looking for mutants. Not to say Joyanne Reid's a mutant, but the way he would go scout and see, hold on, is this kid, there's a news story about this kid flipping over a car. They must have super strength. Professor Xavier would go to that person's house and sit them down and ask them if they wanted to come to school to hone their skills. Is Harvard run by Professor X? That's awesome. And to be honest, if I was running that and looking for mutants, Joyanne Reid would be one of the first people. I'd be like, definitely superpowers with that Demolition Man haircut. Let's go.
Yes. And it was literally not saying we're going to take an unqualified person and put them in Harvard. Yes. We're going to take a very qualified person who we would never know existed and put them in Harvard. That's how I got there. That's how Ketanji got there. That's how Justice Jackson, I should say.
All right, so she did. She said that they would never know I was there. So she didn't apply. Neither apparently did Ketanji Brown Jackson, who, just so you know, doesn't know what a woman is because she's not a biologist. She did go to Harvard, but she's not a biologist. She doesn't know what a woman is. They're just finding them. They're fine. They're not even applying for Harvard. Either way, I like it. This is my favorite part because it's so diverse and inclusive. I think that's how David Hogg got into Harvard. Did he apply? Do you think he applied? And do you think Harvard was like, no, that's a smart guy right there. That's a smart. We should go get him. Anyway, let's continue.
Justice Jackson got there. It's how Clarence Thomas got there. Right. But the minute I arrived from my majority black little town, Montbello,
I kind of paused it again. Do you think Clarence Thomas was watching this and he's like, son of a gun? Son of a gun. I'm only where I am because I'm a black man. I wonder if he's thinking about that. Clarence Thomas, I don't know if you know this, is also the guy that was like, we should stop doing this. So I'm going to go and say, out of all the people here, I think Clarence Thomas, he may have applied. Anyway, let's continue.
Denver to Harvard, the first week or two that I was in class, my presence was questioned by white people. I was in this big conference class where some white students stood up and said, those students, the black students, they're only here because of affirmative action.
Okie dokie. Now, if you were playing Jeopardy and you were like, things that never happened for 500, would you say that? because I highly doubt at Harvard, guys, I don't know if you know this. She's not that old, so she's talking about Harvard fairly recently, in at least 20 years. Harvard's in Boston. Do you think? No, I know what you're thinking. Like Boston. You mean like the guys who go park the cars down the road and smoke cigarettes in the Dunkin'? Yeah, but none of those guys are in Harvard. Boston is super woke. You're telling me that a bunch of white boys at Harvard were like, hey, well, look at these people over here that are different skin than us. Well, they get here. That must be that affirmative action thing. Anyway, I'm going to pause it because that was the thing. And I saw a tweet this week. This is the problem with affirmative action. And she's going to actually, let's finish this out and then we'll chit chat about it because she's going to make a point here that I agree with. I know what you're thinking. Like, David, do you agree with Joy? Yes, all the time, actually. All the time do I agree with her.
Became a huge argument that we all ended up having. This was freshman year. I had never had my academic credentials questioned. I had never had anyone question whether I was intelligent until I got to Harvard. And it was a defining point of my experience there. It's why I really was.
I got to pause it again. Because she said, never have I had my intelligence questioned until I got to Harvard. But people at Harvard been like, how in the hell did you get here? You are dumb. Because, guys, I don't know if you know this, she's super dumb. I mean, this is just one clip. I'm just showing you the reason why she got to where she is today, because she explained it herself. But she's not very smart. Anyway, let's continue on.
Was one of the many reasons I was miserable there my freshman year.
Yeah.
You feel completely out of place and people keep telling you shouldn't be here. And yet, some of the people I went to school with were far less smart than me or the other black folk there. They got in because their daddy and their granddaddy. I went to school with somebody whose name was on one of the buildings. You're going to school with people whose names are on the buildings, who are third and fourth.
All right, so I'm going to pause it. I think we're going to be done with that. She's not wrong. She's absolutely right. I think that's dumb too. I think both of those are dumb. I get it why colleges are like, hey, you get slipped in because your grandpappy is paying us a ton of money. All those white boys with their names on the building, super dumb too. I'm going to go and say it. They're all dumb. Not all of them. Just like I don't think all of the people who got into Harvard from affirmative action are as dumb as Joy. I'm just signaling out her that she's dumb and she got into Harvard. Not because I think DEI is an affirmative action is an issue. But, well, I mean, I do. But I'm just pointing out that not everybody who gets into Harvard who looks like her is dumb. Just her, because I'm an individualist and I judge people accordingly to their individual nature and character. And it's pretty evident she's dumb. She didn't belong in Harvard, but she got into Harvard because of affirmative action. The next question that comes up, and this is what she goes on to talk about. She's like, well, now, even if you're of a person of color and you're smart and you're in Harvard, everyone has to sit back and go, well, do they get in here because they're DEI? Well, that's the problem you create with things like affirmative action. Not everybody who looks at him is like, well, affirmative action works. Are these people here on merit? Are they here because of the way they look? And it's the same thing. If your name is on the building, I'm going to assume you're dumb. Is that right? Should I assume that old whatever, Zachary Morris, the only reason I picked that up because it's Saved by the Bells on the brain. Zachary Morris, his last name's on the building because his grandpappy went here. Yeah, I'm going to assume you're dumb too. I'm going to assume all you were dumb. You keep popping up people like Ketanji Brown Jackson, Joy and Reid as alumni. Yeah, everybody at Harvard's dumb. Everybody. The fact that you went to Harvard now makes me feel dumb. And guys, I know old Benny Shapiro. He went to Harvard. He seems like a smart guy. Look at all these times he dunks on these teenagers with dumb opinions. Super smart. I'm just playing. I like old Benny Shapiro. He's a smart guy. I don't know if he's smart on everything. Again, he's a boomer. He's a friggin' boomer, guys. Anyway, love the fact that she comes out with the firm. I love Joy and Reid. Love the fact that her show got canceled. Hopefully her show didn't get canceled because of affirmative action. Don't know how she got a show from. She's super smart. I think half these people are super smart. They're just playing dumb because their audience loves dumb people. Guys, I just wanted to tell you something about this week. We're gonna end it here. Before I let you go, I want you to know that even without affirmative action and DEI, you could be like Joanne Reid here. And if you shoot for the stars, you might land amongst the moon. Is that the phrase? I actually don't know if that's the phrase. Shoot for the moon, maybe land among the stars. Maybe that's it. Either way, set your aim high. Go high with it. Because like Joanne Reid and Katantra, maybe you end up on MSNBC, and maybe your show gets canceled, but you still made it. You went to Harvard. So all affirmative action, DI, put all that aside. Always do your best and always aim for the stars, because every once in a while, you do something dumb. I wouldn't say dumb. You put your foot out there, you aim for the stars, and lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, you may not have landed among the moon or on the, however that phrase goes, but you did land somewhere close to Timcast IRL. Check this clip out. Your boy has made it.
I agree. My name is Raymond G. Stanley Jr. I work for Timcast, and I blue collar. Once again, we're going to shout out Mr. W. David Lilly Jr. doing Roberto Jr. here, and I'm sure you've seen behind Phil was Mr. Bocus. Chloe, thank you for allowing me to feel emotions. I don't feel emotions very much, but I appreciate that. Phil?
I'm glad I made you feel something.
Right.
I am Phil That Remains on X, where you can subscribe to my page there. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains.
Guys, I'm not much of a boaster. I don't like to always be like, hey, check out the thing that actually, that's a lie. I do that all the time on the show. But it's my show. I'm allowed to do it. Get out of here with that nonsense. I'm allowed to boast every once in a while. But I did want to point out, did not expect that to happen. I actually sent that artwork off like a year ago. And the only reason I did it, to be honest, I think I'm slowly trying to take over all my favorite podcasts and fill their backgrounds, because their backgrounds are rough. Now, I'm only a few down. I don't know if you noticed, if you ever watch Clint Russell's podcast, there's a painting behind there. That's your boy as well. But it was kind of cool with Timcast, because the show I listen to every morning when I drink my coffee. I like Timcast. I like the crew there. But I did want to give a shout out to old Raymond Stanley Jr. He was the one, when I did this artwork and I put it up online, he and like a few other from Timcast hit me up, and he was like, dude, this is really cool. I definitely dig it. And after it sat, I was like, well, I don't even know what to do with this. I hit him up. I was like, hey, man, I'm just going to send to you. You know, you guys are moving studios. Do whatever you want with it. I don't care. Give it to Ian. Give it to, I don't really care. It's just art. It's a tribute to Roberto Jr. and Mr. Bocus. And I was like, you can just have it. Put it up in your house. I don't care. And for him to just hit me up, like, hey, it's going on the show in the background. Plus, let's all be honest. Timcast background needs some improvement, and they got your boy. Your boy is in the background of Timcast. Now, I don't know if you thought I was going to be like, I was on Timcast this week. I wasn't, but in spirit, I kind of was with my art back there. Anyway, I was fairly proud of that. I figured you could be proud of it as well. Thought I'd boast. I don't always come out here and tell you all the wins that I get. But that one, I wanted to encourage you this week. Shoot for the stars. Do something crazy like mail a painting off to a crew member at your favorite podcast or whatever. And maybe, I don't know, whatever you were thinking about doing, whatever that thing in the back of your head, like you want to make a D&D game, but you don't think anybody's going to like it. I'm here to tell you, do it anyway. Do it anyway. You want to write that book, write the book. You're like, but David, what about AI? People are just going to, who cares? Write it anyway. Just do it. Who knows what can happen? And that was a lesson from this past week. Made some paintings, thought they were cool, shipped them off. Didn't think I'd ever see them again. Lo and behold, boom, there they are on the big screen. Old Timcast IRL. Guys, thanks for tuning in this week. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's Sunday nights. We always try to have a good time. Keep it light, keep it flowing. I'm super stoked about what's happening with Doge. If you have any suggestions on who I should paint and what I should paint and what podcast to send to, put them in the chat or in the comments section. Email me. Go to flintlockandfog.com. Sign up to become a beta tester for this game I'm making. It's awesome. Again, player's manual will be published in about, I'm not going to give a timeline, but it's coming out pretty quick, and I'm going to be rolling things out left and right. Be on the ground floor of that. I definitely need some help. Want some people to beta test this thing out for me. Kind of get working the numbers, see if this thing works out. Always tune in Thursday nights. We're going to be live streaming the test if you want to check that out. Either way, guys, that was a lot. I just really, at the end of this episode, I just want to tell you, shoot for the stars. You might land amongst the Timcast IRLs, and you know, keep going, keep trying. It's going to be a great next 4 years. I'm looking forward to it. And now is the time to be alive. You were created for such a time as this. So get out there, be the best you can, guys. God bless ya, jabronis.